Hello, my HS 100 students. This is Professor Donald Earl Collins. I'm here to talk to you very, very briefly, maybe 10, 12 minutes total, about your freestyle artifact project. FAP, as I like to call it. Freestyle Artifacts Assignment and Project. I've talked to you all already before the break about this project. I want to do it again, going over some key variables. It's a two-stage project. You have a month basically to complete the project, but you have basically 5 weeks starting today to put together a group assignment, a project, or an individual project that focuses on taking an artifact and in some sort of multimedia way drilling down from that artifact to a particular issue or subtopic or subcategory or big category that involves migration to the United States or within the US. You're limited by certain factors. Um, for the most part, basically, you're looking at stuff that's happened since the beginning of the 20th century. There are some exceptions to that. You're not doing Southern Eastern European immigration. I don't want to hear about the Irish or the Italians or, Russian Jews or German Jews or Greeks or Polish folk or any other groups of Southern Eastern Europe because it has been overdone. In fact, the first thing that most Americans, since most Americans still remain white in this country, the first folks that most Americans think about pretty much are going to be their families, if they get to that at all. And if they don't think of families and they're not from Southern Eastern Europe, they just think of people coming to Ellis Island like this is the only group of people who ever came over voluntarily to the United States, right? In the 19th and 20th centuries, it's so done that I don't want to see it anymore. It's not just low hanging fruit. It's ripe fruit that's right on the ground as you pick up and you lazily talk about without really thinking more deeply about what those people's experiences were, what they went through, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because as far as you're concerned, those people are white, and therefore those are the only people who ever came to the United States. And I say that broadly. I know that not everybody thinks that. Not everybody is obviously racist, even though we live in a society that's awash in it. Somehow, that kind of thing. I'm not even going to debate all of that. What I'm saying to you is, I've seen too many projects on this over the years. Between classes I've taught at Loyola, classes I've taught at American University, and even a couple of classes I've taught where I've done this kind of work at University of Maryland Global Campus. I've seen this is the default, and it doesn't matter if you're white. I've had black students do this too. I've had Latinx students do this too. So let's move on. But I've opened it up so it's not just about black folk migrating from the South to various points across the United States, right? You can do some aspect of black migration if you choose to, but you are not required to. You can certainly do migration of African Caribbean folk from, Haiti or the Republic of Dominica or whatever, right? You can do Afro-Cubans or Afro-Latin or Latinx folk. You can do just plain old folks from Latin America or from, the African continent, right? Particularly south of the Sahara, where there has been an influx and migration of folks coming in. You can do folks from Europe. You just can't do the period between 1870 and 1920. If you want to do some family history of folks who came over during the quota years between, say, 1924 and 1965, that's fine. If you want to do more recent stuff, post 1965 migration and that kind of thing, fine. That's your topic. But in order to do this, you need to select an artifact. It has to be something material in nature. It doesn't have to be something you literally can hold in your hand, like this mug that I have, this 20-ounce mug that I have in my hands right here, right? It doesn't have to literally be this, but it has to be something tangible. A photograph, a postcard, a letter, a painting, right? A documentary. I've I'm loosened up things a bit so you can do a book, but it can't just be a book report or a book review. This is what the book's about. I don't really care what the book's about. No one who's going to watch your presentation is going to want you to just do this book by so and so was about like you're in third or fifth or even ninth grade. You need to review that book and tell me and talk about its importance to understanding migration, why this book is important, what its legacy is, what its impact was in real time, right? So I would say to all of you that probably shouldn't be reviewing and trying to talk about legacy of a book like The Warmth of Other Suns. It's 600 pages or so in length. It's very, very, very vastly detailed in granular detail, experiences of three migrants and their families across the course of a century. So you really want to do that? You really think you have the chops for doing that? I'm not saying you can't do that, but I'm not suggesting that you should either because that's a lot. That's borderline grad level work. So I don't want you doing that as first year students. If you're going to pick a book, pick something small. If you're going to pick music, it has to be related to migration in some way, shape, or form. You can't just pick anything that you like and somehow relate it to migration. You know, even when I say that some music is really about aspirational migration or migration of the mind, you actually have to understand the lyrics and understand the context of the music to be able to say something like that, right? You can't just grab something like Kendrick Lamar, any random Kendrick Lamar song, and say, oh, this is about migration. No, it's not. They're not talking about moving or destination or journey in any substantial way. If it's just about Black life in general, no. Okay? So you have some restrictions. You don't just do anything, right? You've got restrictions in terms of time period, say roughly 1900 or 1910, or for European migration, 1920 to the present. You've got some restrictions in terms of kinds of materials that you can use. I mean, like, you can't literally just use water, right? I mean, water can't be your artifact. There's got to be something specific, right? And you can't do this without an artifact. You can't just pick a topic and go for it. I will ding you, and if you hand in a proposal that says that, oh, I have this topic, I want to look at this area of migration to the United States or within the U.S., but I didn't pick an artifact, you will lose points. In fact, in some cases, I might make you redo your proposal because you haven't given me an artifact. And that's the other thing I want to make sure I get clear today as well, is the fact that you have to do a proposal that I can approve of before you move forward based on criteria that are in the instructions that come with this video that you'll have with you for the duration of this project process from beginning of week 9 through the end of week 13 when this is actually due in 5 weeks, right? So there's that. But you have to get this proposal. Here's why. And you will lose points. If you just decide, oh, I'm not going to hand in a proposal, it's only worth 15% of my grade, I can take the 0, whatever, and you decide to hand in a project at the end of the process anyway, you will lose a full letter grade. I'm just letting you know right now, right? Even if you did 100% perfect work and it's worth 100, your grade is not going to be 100. It's going to be an 89 or a 90. I'm taking off and I'm just slicing it. You need my approval before you move forward, period. Even if I have some questions about it, but if I say carry on and move forward or whatever, or I like what you're trying to do, but you need to do things, you should still do the things I'm asking you to do, but move forward. But if I specifically say to you, nope, I don't like your proposal, there's something wrong with this, it's outside the time frame, you're looking at folks who I've specifically said you can't look at, that kind of thing, you're looking at migration to other parts of the world, not including the U.S., no, can't do it, right? Don't just pick anything. I have specific criteria. Freaking follow it, okay? Yeah, it's annoying when you have people who just refuse to follow stuff. And every semester I have half a dozen or so students who insist that they should do something that isn't related to what I've asked you to do. The case studies on Black migration, I'm giving you this project opportunity to expand beyond it, to follow interests that are related to it, but I also have guideposts and guardrails to keep you from just doing anything. You can't do the Rapa Nui and Easter Island. That's what someone tried to propose last year and try to argue that this was somehow related to the U.S. No, right? You can't do slavery, folks. y'all keep thinking that if we're talking about black people, we got to talk about slavery. Somehow that's all we think about. That's all black folks think about. And when I say that, I'm talking to all students, not just um, you know other students, right? That kind of thing. So pick something specific. And so finally, the last thing I'd say is um, try to have fun with this though too. This should be a fun project, something that you really want to do. As I was saying, pick something that you really want to do. Pick people you really want to do it with, who have common interests, who are actually going to help you do this work, not just lay back while you do 80% of the work and they just sit around going, hey, just throw me in here so I can get credit for this too, kind of thing. Don't just do that because they're your friends. Don't you want to get a good grade? I mean, I've seen this over and over again where people just do lazy stuff, a whole bunch of lazy, crap. I'll use that word for doing for doing a project that's worth a quarter of your grade, and a whole process that, when combined with your proposal, is worth 40% of your grade. It's worth slightly more than all of your participation in the class for the semester. This project and your participation grades over a course of 15 weeks is worth 3/4 of your total grade. So I want you to take this seriously, but I also want you to have fun with it, explore interest with it. Make this more about learning and less about, oh, I don't know, just trying to figure out the easiest way to get an A. Because, I mean, I'm not making this hard, but I'm not just going to give you an A. I'm just letting you know. You're not getting an A because you just submitted something. You're not getting an A because I like you, or don't, or for that matter, whether I like you or not. Right? There are plenty of people who personally know that they will get an A from me whether I like them or not. So just do what I ask you to do. Follow the instructions. If you have questions, ask me. Do not wait to the last minute to ask me. No. When we have opportunities virtually, ask me virtually. We have opportunities to ask in person, ask in person. The whole last week of the class, the last week before this project is due, week 13, is dedicated to giving you time in class to work in groups if you're working in groups. Ask me questions if you have specific questions. I'm just leaving it open because I'm tired of people half-assing this process when this should be a pretty easy way to get an A, right? Not that I'd say on average about 30% of students who do this get an A, about 80, 85 end up with between a B, somewhere a B on up. But it could be higher. It should be higher. But, I don't understand what it is about students at Loyola specifically, and students in general, that's, who say, I'm just going to nail it in. So I'm just trying to give you the best possible advice here. Do something with it, please.